Well, hello, YouTube. How are you? Pat Flynn here. Just popping in for a quick live stream. I've got 3 or so questions that I picked out from the internet that I wanted to discuss with you. I know that I said I would try to do this a little bit more frequently. I've got questions on 300 swings, grip strength, and who some of my personal mentors are. People who really influenced me, specifically in fitness. Although I could speak to mentors in many other areas as well. If you're tuning in live, say hello. Let me know what you're drinking or something interesting about yourself. Let me know if you have any questions that you would like me to answer for you. And if we have some time at the end, I will gladly do so. I just noticed that. Can anyone see that? That is a piece of art from my wonderful son. I don't quite know what it is, but it's there, and he made it for me, and I love it. It's beautiful. So we'll make sure that stays in the frame as well. Okay, so first question comes from. Hold on, gotta get my rectangle here. From user Playful Warrior, and Playful Warrior wants to know: Can your 300 swings a day challenge be performed for an entire year? So let's talk about 300 swings real quick. This is one of my most popular challenges. I launched 300 swings back, oh my gosh, when was that? For the first time ever, like 2011 or 2012, I launched it in conjunction with that website, Breaking Muscle. Remember Breaking Muscle? I used to write for them and do a lot of work for them. And it was huge. I mean, we had tens of thousands of people participating in this challenge. And the idea was simple. We were going to do 300 swings a day for 30 days and reap all the wonderful benefits from that. Now, people who just hear that initially worry because that sounds like a lot of volume, and it is. And this is why I strongly encourage anybody who wants to do the 300 swings challenge, you got to follow the actual program. And for almost 10 years now, however long we've been doing this, I've been constantly updating the programming. We have ways of ramping up, manipulating volume. So even though we shoot to accumulate 300 swings every day, we use different intensities. We use different set and rep structures. Some days are definitely a little bit heavier and more intense. Other days are lighter and just more focused on movement, greasing the groove, recovery, and stuff like that. So how you do your 300 swings definitely makes a difference, especially if you're relatively new and you want the sustainability and you don't want to be too beat up. Would I recommend doing it for an entire year? No, I wouldn't. I think that's overkill. I think that's excessive. Could you do it? Maybe. Should you do it? Probably not. I think 300 swings is best suited as a sort of short-term challenge, a nice plateau buster, a way to motivate yourself and form a community, an intentional community around a goal. And and it's great metabolic. It's great either by itself or in addition to another strength program. But for me, it is a 15 to 30 day training cycle, and I would recommend doing it 2 to 4 times a year. You could do it once a season if you want. I think that's probably the most I would recommend for it. And we will be doing our next 300 swings challenge, by the way, in January. So at the start of the new year, mark your calendars. We're gonna swing that kettlebell because 300 times per day, because 2021 is gonna be a better year. I come hell or high water. No matter what craziness goes on in the world, we're gonna give ourselves a little extra love. We're gonna work hard. We're going to develop virtue. We're going to do those 300 swings. Okay, so no, would not recommend doing it for the full year. Would recommend that you follow the specific programming. I've got older versions out for free. You can join my email list if you're interested in doing the challenge coming up. By the way, if you're not on my email list, get on there, because that's where most of the Pat Flynn action happens. So if I don't annoy you to death and you actually want to get more workouts and hear from me more often, head over to 101kettlebellworkouts.com. You'll get a big, fat, coarse, ugly PDF of 101 of my, hand-picked kettlebell workouts for strength, mobility, metabolic conditioning, you name it. Totally free. That gets you on my email list, and then I'll bug the crap out of you pretty much every day, but in good, fun ways. Okay, so that is what I have to say about 300 swings, and that is all I have to say about 300 swings. So Next question comes from, if I can find it here. I'm sorry, I'm just terrible at keeping things organized. You know what? User NJOS, I don't know how to pronounce that, asks what I think the most underrated exercises are and the most overrated. Let me take this one quick. In terms of underrated, I'm gonna use a different term. I'm gonna say underutilized. I think one underutilized exercise is the Bulgarian split squat or the rear foot elevated split squat. How's that for an exercise term? And this is it's like an advanced lunge, right? So you typically anchor your rear foot on a bench, often a bench press, and allows you to get into a split stance and do a very deep and often weighted lunge. You can do it with kettlebells. You can hold the kettlebells in the rack or in the farmer carry position. I typically recommend the farmer carry position. I think this exercise is enormously underutilized. It is absolutely phenomenal for building quad strength, shaping the glutes. You can really build a lot of strength and hypertrophy with this exercise without it being so systemically fatiguing or globally fatiguing like back squats or front squats are. So I would say if you don't have the Bulgarian split squat in your programming, consider incorporating it at least one day a week in your lower body routines. I think just 3 or 4 sets of between 6 to 12 reps with a good intensity will go a long way. It's also going to have the extra benefit of training the split stance position. You're going to have a little bit of a balance challenge there. And it's good. If you're doing a lot of squatting, front squats, back squats, it's good to have that split athletic stance training as well. So I would say, yeah, one of the most underutilized exercises would be the Bulgarian split squat. It's one of those exercises that you get a lot of juice from the squeeze, big bang for the buck, as it were. But I don't see a whole lot of people doing it, so I recommend that. Okay, next question on grip strength is, I had it up here and now it seems to disappear. So let me just take another one. This is it's on my Instagram, by the way. That's where I'm grabbing these questions. So I do Q&As on Instagram once a week, and Instagram's, I type on there. There's not a whole lot I can say, so I think it's cool to come on YouTube and give a little more detailed explanation. Thanks for stopping in, by the way. It's good to see you guys. If you have any questions, you can of course comment and let me know in the chat here. How do I bring up the chatty thing? There it is. No. Okay. Are dips superior to push-ups? Wants to know Rohan. Well, Rohan, that is one of those famous it depends questions. The first thing I would say is I don't think it needs to be an either or. I can't see why this can't be a both and. I will say that I have probably gotten more benefit working up towards dips, and especially weighted dips, in terms of strength and high, and muscle gain than I have push-ups. So I think dips will probably serve you for they'll take you further. You can go further with dips than you can most of the time with push-ups. Yes, I understand you can weight push-ups, but you can really weight dips, and you also get a pretty extended range of motion with dips. So one thing I like to do, I'll just give you a practical tip here, is I like to just do sets of weighted dips and then drop set it with. That was really weird. Something just totally fell. Freaky. Anyway, I like to do sets of weighted dips and drop set with push-ups. So I might do, again, 6 to 12 dips, weight it. I typically like to use the a weighted belt for dips. The vests sometimes can impede shoulder mechanics, so I like the belts. Most gyms have those. And then do time sets of push-ups where you just do max rep, high rep push-ups. So for the heavier, more intense stuff, I do like dips. And then for the higher rep, more endurance stuff, I like push-ups. So, yeah, either is superior for that specific thing, right? So if you want to be better at dips, you got to do dips. If you want to be better at push-ups, you got to do push-ups. But if you're just looking for general strength, physical preparedness, and muscle and all that, I think dips and push-ups is the way to go. And I would focus more on the intensity with dips and higher reps and endurance with push-ups. That would be my recommendation. Okie doke. Next one is. Just give me a second here. I will find it. I really can't find this question. It was a good one. It was on grip strength. It was something like how to improve grip strength. That's what it was. So let me just jam off of what I remember. If this was your question and I butcher it, sorry. But when it comes to improving grip strength, we actually have to differentiate between types of grip strength, right? So we have crushing grip strength, where you just, you think of like the famous just taking an object and just obliterating it with your hand. That's a crushing grip strength. We have a pinching grip strength, and we also have a withholding grip strength, just being able to hold on to things. Now, oftentimes where people struggle, especially in the kettlebell world, is not so much with the crushing grip strength, but the withholding grip strength. And where do you often see this? You often see it with kettlebell snatch in the snatch test. Is people might have decent power, decent conditioning, but their grip starts to fail when it comes to the kettlebell snatch. So how could you improve your grip strength when it comes to the kettlebell snatch? Easiest way, simplest way, extended, high rep, heavy, really heavy single arm swings with a hook grip. So you take the thumb out and you just let the kettlebell sit right here. And better if your hands are a little bit sweaty, better if the handle of the kettlebell is pretty thick, and you just blast out sets, heavy, forceful sets of one-arm swings for as long as you can hold on to that bell. Now, obviously, depending on where you're training, stop a rep or two short, because we don't want the kettlebell just totally flying out of your hand. But that will work. That will do a lot for your kettlebell snatch performance, because one, you're kind of overloading. So, say you got to do a snatch test with the 24 kilogram, then go really heavy with the one-arm swings, like a 32 or 36, heavy relative to your snatch test weight. This will, of course, help you develop more power, but it will also really tax your grip. So that way, when you go back to the 24 kilogram, it's going to feel like a little peanut. So I would say, at least once a week, if you want to improve your grip strength with kettlebells, do heavy, that's the key, extended sets of one-arm swings, stopping only when your grip really begins to fail. And then if you wanted to supplement that a little bit more, heavy extended farmer's walk. So it's training that withholding grip strength that is key. You can do the same thing with pull-ups and fat bar work, but again, specificity is always key. So if you're struggling with the snatch test, do the heavy one-arm swings, stuff like that. I hope that's helpful. If that's helpful, you can let me know, but you probably won't know until you try it out. Yo. Hazim says, when doing Prometheus protocol, can you use lighter weights on the 10 rep days? Yeah, relatively. But you still want to make sure, when it comes to hypertrophy, here's a good rule. If you're looking for, the sort of the ideal balance between strength and muscle gain, the intensity should be somewhere within 2 reps of technical failure. Now, what does that mean? It means if you're doing 10 reps of an exercise, you want to use a weight where you could get to 12 reps, but no more before technical failure sets in. So let me explain what technical failure means. Technical failure is when you start to have to make certain compensations to finish the rep. So technical failure is different than absolute failure. Absolute failure means you're done, the weight isn't moving at all anymore. So a technical failure, what would that look like? Well, in an exercise like the front squat, you might see that the hips start coming up first and then your knees extend. You start to see these weird wavy motions, like your form is no longer consistent. That's technical failure. Now, some exercises, it's hard to differentiate between technical and absolute failure because it's just such a limited exercise, like bicep curls, right? Technical failure and absolute failure will probably coincide. But for the bigger compound movements, you can often see certain aspects of the exercise break down and then compensations kick in to finish the rep. And that's technical failure. And we want to be within 2 reps of technical failure for our given rep range if we're really shooting for strength and hypertrophy. So again, if you're doing 10 reps, work with around your 12 rep max of technical failure. If you're doing 8 reps, around your 10 rep max of technical failure. Something like that. Good general rule. Of course, there are exceptions to general rules. Nothing is absolute, but hopefully that helps get you started. All right, last question. Who are some of my personal mentors in the fitness industry? Well, the truth is most of my mentors starting out, and even to this day, who had deep impacts on my life are people that you have no idea. You don't know that they exist because they're not like famous authors or writers or anything like that. I mean, my first true, like real mentor who really helped me get into fitness and get in shape. Remember, I grew up a really chubby, unathletic kid. And in high school, I decided I need to get my act together. And I didn't want to go into the weight room because like all my other friends who were athletic were in the weight room, and I knew they would just never let me live it down, right? They would totally do the thing that the guys in high school do to each other. Now, God bless them. I love them. They're my friends, but I didn't want to deal with that. So what did I do? I went and signed up for Taekwondo. I went to a Taekwondo studio. I couldn't even afford to do Taekwondo, but I did like the free lesson. I loved it, and I begged and pleaded. I said, "Let me work here. Let me clean the bathrooms if I happen." I was so if I have to. I was so impressed with the instructor because he was a super fit, confident, powerful dude. He had a bunch of accolades to his names as a Taekwondo athlete. I'm like, I need to learn from this guy, and his name was Master Scott. But nobody knows Master Scott because he wasn't a famous dude. But he was somebody who taught me so much about virtue, about self-discipline, about good exercise programming, good nutrition. Like, he just exploded so much of my ignorance. And he not only taught me really good principles from the very beginning that helped me to, I guess, evade a bunch of the BS that is so common online, but he himself was just a tremendous role model. Somebody who really practiced what he preached. He was a great coach. He got consistent results for his clients. So Master Scott was one of them. Then my second Taekwondo coach, a number of you probably do know, at least he's been on this channel a lot of times, is Sam. Good old Sam, our old friend Sam. I met Sam because then I was competing in Taekwondo in high school. Sam was the Taekwondo coach. So that's how I met Sam. And Sam actually got me into kettlebells, brought me down to his gym. He's like, all this traditional weightlifting is fine, but we're going to start incorporating kettlebells. So Sam was a huge influence on me. Super intelligent when it comes to strength and conditioning, especially athletic enhancement. So if you know Sam, you probably know Sam because he's been on this channel. But again, another huge mentor of mine. Just two quick ones that you probably do know who've influenced me. Dan John. I have a podcast with him every week. By the way, I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast that I upload on the YouTube channel. I'm trying to blast the cobwebs off of this thing, and I'll get more workouts up soon too. So I've kind of been bringing a lot of the podcasts I have from the Pat Flynn Show, which cover a variety of topics. As you see, we talk fitness every week. We also talk philosophy, science, theology, business. It's just all over the place. So I'm putting out a lot here, and it's a buffet. So hopefully you take what you like, leave whatever you don't. But I hope you're liking that. But one great pleasure is that I get to talk with Dan John every single week. He's been a huge mentor for me. In fact, when I first met Dan John, if you got a few minutes for a little story, I was at a fitness conference. Sam and I actually had a booth. I had one of my first books. Dan John comes up to the table, and he asked for a copy of my book. And I'm like, oh, it's Dan John. This is super cool. Of course you can have a copy of my book. But I'm also embarrassed because I think he's going to go off and read it. He's going to hate it, and he's never going to talk to me again. Anyway, an hour or 2 hours later, he comes back, and he said he's been reading my book, and he loves it. And he loves the programming and this or that. So, of course, I'm flabbergasted. And just to give some context, like, I was reading Dan John when I was in school. And, this is like, the height of, I guess, like the T-Nation and bodybuilding.com and forum world and stuff like that. So Dan John was, he's like a big deal. So the fact that he took my book and said that he really liked it and thought that he'd want to talk to me more about it was that was a moment for me. And so we end up hanging out like the entire conference, and we stay up like 2, 3 a.m. and just drink a bunch of whiskey together, and we end up becoming great friends. And we've been sharing ideas and, just having conversations ever since to this very day. And again, I'm very fortunate that he takes the time every week to just come on and have these podcasts. So Dan John, huge influence. Anybody who's followed my programming can just see the Dan John influence there. And then, of course, Pavel. Can't forget Pavel. I remember when I was first handed the original Russian Kettlebell Challenge book. That one's hard to find, but it's a great one. If you can get the original Russian Kettlebell Challenge, boy, that is an awesome book. That was before Enter the Kettlebell. Completely I wouldn't say it changed all and every way that I thought about training, because I don't think I was approaching training in a completely ignorant or idiotic way, but it really sharpened my approach to programming and training. So I owe a lot to Pavel, and I did the RKC when I was quite young. In fact, I believe at the time, I haven't been able to verify this, but it seems reasonable to think that I was the youngest person to ever pass the RKC when I passed it at the time. It was my first or second year of college, and that was a lot. That was a lot of fun. Very difficult. That was back when the RKC was like this huge monolithic organization, and you'd have like 100 to 150 people at a cert. Awesome energy. A lot of like hazing, so like they always try to beat you down with the grad workout. But always learned a ton. And Pavel's work influenced me, and a lot of people in that community influenced me. And I went out and helped with that, and helped and assisted and taught in that community for a number of years. In fact, would even go down to Camp Lejeune and assist some United States Special Forces, help train those dudes up, which was an awesome experience as well. So anyway, I'm rambling. That's all. That's all we got for today, folks. So thanks for tuning in. Again, I'll try and pop in here more often. If you have anything else you want me to talk about on one of these live streams, you know what to do in the comments section. Leave a little note. Please share with both of your friends. We'll catch you next time.